Hi y'all, this is Karen Pruitt and welcome to my kitchen. Today is dessert week on the We're Women of Philadelphia and we are going to make a really yummy recipe based off my great Aunt Ebba's pecan pie. That pecan pie is so good that my mom nicknamed it the Pearly Gates pecan pie. So today we're going to make a mini version of it and we're going to make a chocolate crust instead of a regular crust, and I call it the Philly Gates chocolate pecan pie. So if we want to start, we're going to start with the crust. In my mixer, I put an entire block of Philadelphia cream cheese. I've used the regular, and also a half cup of butter. I'm going to get that starting to cream with some sugar, and it's a cup and a half of sugar. So turn it on and let it cream. Then I'm going to mix our filling, which will go with pecan pie. There's a cup of sugar already in here, 3 eggs, which I've lightly beaten with a fork, except for apparently 1 egg yolk that didn't get beaten, and a cup of Karo light corn syrup. You also add pecans, but the way we always do pecan pie in my family is to put the pecans on top of the crust and then mix in, or then put the filling on top, and as it cooks, the pecans will float to the top. So I'm just getting this good and incorporated and mixed together. Now, Eva never added vanilla to hers, and it always turns out pretty good because Karo actually has vanilla in it, so you don't need the vanilla with it. Alright, we'll go back to the crust while this is going. The nice thing of using it with Philly is you can even use the third fat, reduced fat, or the reduced fat Philly, and it'll work just the same as the regular Philly. Because they don't add water to it. A lot of times light butter has mostly water, and that changes the texture of your baked goods, but with cream cheese you don't have that issue. The other nice thing with Philly is that it has a little bit of tanginess, which will go really great with the chocolate. I'm going to use Dutch pressed chocolate, or Dutch pressed cocoa powder. And the reason why I'm using Dutch, and it's a half cup, I'm using Dutch press, and you can see it's kind of splattered. Just add it gradually. I use Dutch press because it's got a little more bitterness to it and makes more of a dark chocolate flavor. And I'll let that good and incorporate. Now I haven't mixed my dry ingredients together, pretty much to save messing up a bowl, but also because I found with this kind of recipe, it doesn't matter as much. As long as you mix it and mix it really well, you don't have to pre-mix your dry ingredients. So now that I've gotten that good and incorporated, I'm going to add in my vanilla, and it's just a teaspoon. And I'm using vanilla that we made using vodka and vanilla beans. I'm putting them into a dark, cool place for 6 months. You shake it once a month, and in 6 months you have vanilla. And then also a teaspoon of salt. Let that get good and incorporated. And lastly, I have my flour. It's 3½ cups of flour, and it is going to splatter. And what we're shooting for is kind of a thicker cookie dough, essentially. It's not a pie crust texture. It's really more of a shortbread texture. So it's going to have to kind of work to mix it in. It's basically the texture of a heavier cookie dough if you're going to roll it. So what we're going to do with it is we're going to put it into our tart pan and then put our crust, or excuse me, our filling on top of it and cook it. So when we come back, we'll be working with the tart pans. We're back. Our dough is ready. As you can see, it's got a nice, yummy texture to it. And I've already started scooping some out into our little mini muffin tins, which are also little mini tarts. I've just taken a normal little ice cream scoop or cookie scoop. It's one of the really small ones. It makes about a tablespoon or so. It has that little bar on the back that helps the dough to pull off. So I just get a tablespoon of it and drop it into my cookie tin, or excuse me, my mini muffin tin. And then I'm going to smush them, and I'll show you. I actually tried to do this with a tart masher, and it didn't work very well because my dough is just a little bit too wet for it. So what I'm going to do instead is use my fingers, and I have a little trick to help you with that. That one looks a little sad. He needs a little more. So I just take Pecan cooking spray and put it on my fingers so they're nice and kind of greasy. And then I'll just use my 2 index fingers and thumbs and smush out the dough. What I want is it to be as even as possible, and for it to come all the way up the sides of the muffin tin. I also want to make sure it covers the bottom so that the bottom will have a crust that can cook. So So I'm just going to smash out these last 4. I'll tell you why my mom named Ebba's pie Pearly Gates pecan pie. My Aunt Ebba, her pie recipe is really simple. It's just cuppa, and it's, you know, your basic pecan pie recipe, but there was something about the way she made it, and it always made it so much better. And it was so much better than any other pecan pie we had ever eaten. Get the grease off my hands. And my mom would joke that Ebba's pie was so good that if there was any question when it came time for her to go to the pearly gates, and any question about her getting let in, all she had to do was hand St. Peter a piece of her pie, and she'd walk right on in without any issues. So we call it pearly gates pie. This is just chopped pecans, so I've chopped them pretty fine. I want to put like a small pinch in the bottom. If you put more than that, the filling doesn't have a place to go, and you can always add in more pecans later. The reason we put pecans in first is because we want to make sure everybody gets lots and lots of pecans. And a lot of times when you put it in into the mixture, it isn't even. Plus, since these are so little, and they're more like little miniature pies or miniature cupcake style, the pecan, it's harder to get pecans in every single one. So now I'm just adding about a tablespoon or so of our mixture. I've shifted it over to a smaller container. And I don't want to fill it all the way perfectly to the top because it might bubble up and pop over and then burn. But I do want to make sure that each one gets a sufficient amount of filling. And then, very important, this filling will burn if it's on the pan. So take a wet paper towel or wet towel and just wipe around and make sure that the filling is all taken off so it won't burn. And then I'm going to go back in and add a little more pecans because you can never have too many. You know, I always use these pecans that we buy from a farm in between Austin and Bastrop. And I usually buy 10 pounds of cracked pecans a year, and I sit there and shell them myself and keep them throughout the year for my baking. They're a lot bigger than the kind you get in the store, and I think they have a lot better flavor because they're so much fresher. So I'm just adding a little more pecans. My oven is already preheated to 350, and I'm going to pop them into the oven for about 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes, and we'll see you back when they're done. The tarts are out of the oven and they're fabulous. Let's look at how nice and yummy and bubbly they are. They're all nice and golden brown, and I'm just going to pop them out. I'm just using the sharp knife so I can get under them. I've let them cool about 15 minutes, and I'm just going to pop them out and plate them. Don't they look good? And then the mixture has already solidified, which is great. They look really nutty. They smell really good. In fact, our whole house now smells like this. It smells awesome. Who knew you can make pecan pie and make it in under half an hour? It's pretty awesome. I'm going to get one more on the plate and show you. Don't those look pretty? I think that one is leaning over because he wants to be tried. Let's taste it and find out. Mmm. Those are really good. It's like a mixture almost of a turtle and a pecan pie. So I suggest you try these at home. These are really fabulous. And the Philly cheese adds kind of a different texture to the dough and helps it enhance that yummy chocolate flavor. So hopefully my great Aunt Ebba would like this recipe, and I think, who knows, maybe Philly Gates pecan pie may actually be my own ticket into heaven too.